I was knee-deep in sweat and sand when she asked me that question. The sun was blazing, the kind that makes the air shimmer above the pavement and turns your shirt 2 shades darker. I was hauling beach chairs for tourists who barely looked up from their phones. Then I heard her voice, soft, casual, almost playful. "Hey, mind putting some on my back?" I turned around, confused. She was lying on a striped beach towel, sunglasses on, sunbathing like she didn't have a care in the world. In that moment, I felt invisible and exposed at the same time. I was just the beach help, the guy dragging chairs, the one people tipped if they felt generous. But what happened next changed me in a way I never expected. Before we dive into this story, if you believe small moments can change lives, make sure you subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Welcome to Your Channel Name, where we share real stories about kindness, courage, and the quiet strength of everyday people. Now let me tell you what really happened that day. It was my 3rd week working at Clearwater Beach in Florida. I had just moved there after losing my construction job back in Ohio. The company downsized. I was one of the unlucky ones. I didn't tell many people, but losing that job felt like losing my identity. For 15 years, I'd worked with my hands, built houses, fixed roofs, framed walls. Suddenly, I was 38 years old, unemployed and scrambling. A cousin told me about seasonal work in Florida. It wasn't glamorous, setting up umbrellas, renting out paddleboards, cleaning up after crowds, but it paid enough to keep the lights on in my small apartment. Still, some days were harder than others. That afternoon, the beach was packed. Kids were screaming in the surf. Music thumped from portable speakers. Seagulls circled overhead, bold and hungry. I was exhausted. My back ached. My skin burned despite the cheap sunscreen I'd slapped on before my shift. That's when I heard her. "Excuse me." I turned. She was probably in her early 30s, maybe a little younger. Blonde hair pulled into a messy bun, big sunglasses, a paperback novel resting face down on her towel. She held up a bottle of sunscreen. "Mind putting some on my back? I can't reach." I froze for a second. Part of me felt annoyed. I'd been running around all day, sweating through my uniform, and here she was, relaxing in the sun. It felt unfair. I was working while she was living her best vacation life, but it was my job to help guests. "Sure," I said, keeping my voice neutral. I knelt down and squeezed some sunscreen into my hands. I rubbed it across her shoulders carefully, trying not to make it awkward. The scent of coconut mixed with the salt air. "Thank you," she said. "I appreciate it." "No problem," I replied, standing up quickly. I started to walk away when she said, "Hey, wait." I turned again, expecting another request. Instead, she took off her sunglasses and looked straight at me. "You look like you're carrying the whole beach on your shoulders," she said gently. "Rough day?" I almost laughed. No one had asked me that in a long time. "Just busy," I said. "Comes with the job." She nodded but didn't look convinced. "What's your name?" she asked. "Mark, I'm Hannah." There was something different about the way she spoke, not rushed, not distracted. She wasn't looking over my shoulder for someone more important. She was actually looking at me. "You from around here, Mark?" I hesitated. I didn't usually tell customers my story, but something about her tone felt safe. "No, just moved here, trying to start over." She propped herself up on her elbows. "Start over how?" I shrugged. "Lost my job back home. Figured I'd try something new." She was quiet for a moment, studying my face like she could read the parts I wasn't saying. "That takes courage," she said finally. I almost scoffed. Courage? I felt desperate, not brave. Before I could respond, a group of teenagers waved at me from down the beach. They needed umbrellas adjusted. "Gotta run," I said. "Of course," she replied. "Thanks again, Mark." I went back to work and didn't think much about it. Just another beach interaction. An hour later, when my shift finally slowed, I noticed she was packing up her towel. As she walked past the rental stand, she stopped. "Hey, Mark." I looked up from stacking chairs. She held out something folded in her hand. "For helping me." I shook my head. "You already paid for the chair rental. It's fine." She smiled. It's not a tip. Curious, I took it. It was a business card. I glanced down. Hannah Reynolds, Director of Community Outreach, a nonprofit organization based in Tampa. I must have looked confused because she laughed softly. I wasn't just sunbathing, she said. I was thinking. About sunscreen? I joked. About people, she replied. About how easy it is to overlook the ones working hardest. She gestured toward the beach. I've been watching you all afternoon. You never snapped at anyone. Even when that guy complained about the umbrella angle for 10 minutes. I remembered him. I had wanted to snap. You're patient, she continued, and that's rare. I didn't know what to say. No one had complimented my patience before. My organization works with families who've been hit hard financially, she said. Job loss, housing issues, things like that. We help them find resources, job training, connections. I felt my chest tighten. Why are you telling me this? I asked quietly. Because sometimes, she said, the person who needs help is the one who's too proud to ask. Her words landed heavier than the humid air. I hadn't told anyone how close I was to falling behind on rent, how I skipped meals some nights to stretch my budget, how I lay awake wondering if I'd made a mistake moving here. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. If you ever want to talk, call me. No pressure. Just know that you're not alone. For a second, I couldn't speak. All I had done was put sunscreen on her back. That was it. A simple, ordinary act. Yet here she was, offering something far bigger. Thank you, I managed. She smiled, slid her sunglasses back on, and walked away. I stood there long after she disappeared into the crowd. That night, I stared at her card for almost an hour before dialing the number. I half expected it to go to voicemail. Instead, she answered on the second ring. Hi, Mark. She remembered my name. We talked for nearly 40 minutes. I told her about Ohio, about the layoff, about my fear of starting over. She listened without interrupting. Within a week, she connected me to a workforce program that offered free certification courses in project management. Apparently, my years in construction gave me a solid foundation. 3 months later, I landed an entry-level coordinator job with a local building company. It paid more than beach work and had room to grow. But the biggest change wasn't the job. It was how I saw people. Before that day, I had started to believe I was invisible. Just another worker blending into the background of someone else's vacation. But Hannah reminded me that no one is invisible, that even when you feel small, someone might be noticing your effort, your patience, your quiet strength. A year after that beach day, I ran into her again. This time, I wasn't in a faded uniform. I was wearing a polo shirt with my company's logo, meeting a client near the boardwalk. She recognized me instantly. Mark, she called out. We laughed and caught up. I told her about the new job, the apartment I'd upgraded to, the way things finally felt stable. She grinned. See, starting over isn't the end of the story. Before we parted ways, I said something I'd been meaning to say for months. You know, I told her, you asked me to put sunscreen on your back, but you ended up carrying me when I didn't know how to carry myself. She shook her head. You did the hard work, Mark. I just offered a little shade. A little shade. That's what kindness is sometimes. Not a grand gesture, not a viral moment, just a small act that shields someone from burning out. These days, whenever I'm on that same beach, I make it a point to look people in the eye, to ask how they're really doing, to tip generously, to treat every worker like their story matters. Because it does. All it took was one simple request, mind putting some on my back, to remind me that kindness goes both ways. Sometimes you give it, sometimes you receive it, and sometimes, without even realizing it, you save each other. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who might need a reminder that they're not invisible. A small moment of kindness could be the turning point in someone's life. Let's be the kind of people who notice, who ask, who care. Because you never know whose life might change. Just because you stopped to say, "Hey, are you okay?" And that's the power of kindness.